Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Lawfully Speaking. I am your host, Melissa May, and today we have a very special guest on our show, Danel Adams. Welcome. It is such a privilege to have you here today.
Thank you.
Before Danel and I speak, today we're going to be speaking about a little bit about like the life during studying towards your LL.B. But before we do that, I'm just going to, is it fine if I introduce you?
Yeah,
Just
of course.
make the viewers aware who you are. So Danel Adams started studying towards her LL.B. in 2019 at Stellenbosch University. She is also part of a variety of organizations such as Work Womandla, where she is a member as well as a volunteer. She forms part of the SMJ Foundation as well as Ruth Women Rising. And then she's also a part of the South African chapter of International
Association of Women Judges.
Okay, the South African chapter of
Yeah.
the International Association of Women Judges. Yes,
Yeah.
that is correct. Eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then just a bit more, Danel was also awarded a legal bursary or a law recruitment bursary at Stellenbosch University. And just a point of interest, while she was studying towards her LL.B. degree, this is a final year.
Yeah.
Yes, she is graduating this year. So while she was studying towards her LL.B., she also got married to Luke Adams. Mr. Adams actually was very upset because, can you show your hands, please? He forgot to put on a wedding ring. So I was supposed
Sorry, husband.
I was supposed to give her a ring, but yeah, everybody knows she's married now. So Danel, thank you once again for being on the show today. It's such a privilege. Like I said, like you know my journey to studying law, and I mean I started studying in 2017, so just 2 or 3 years before you started. So we kind of like always spoke to each other about how it feels and all of that. So I'm going to jump straight into it. I always start with this question because everybody has their different reasons. So but I want to know, like, what made you study law?
Wow. I feel like that is such a loaded question, especially for me. Why did I study law? I think when you study law, people have two categories. They say you either study law for money or you study law for passion. And when you say you study law for passion, they say it's like really cringy. But I'm going to have to go with I study law for passion. Just at, I think, the ripe age of 15 years old, I was sexually assaulted. Just so that our content won't be excluded, I'm going to say sexually assaulted. And at that stage, I felt that the right thing to do was not to pursue legal action, even though my parents had the means to do something about it. I think around about at that time, that story in America came out about the lady wearing lingerie. I don't know if you remember that story.
Was it the Me Too movement or?
It was during, I think it was during no, it's before the Me Too movement. It's basically this case in America where she had red lingerie on. And they basically berated her in front of the court. She lost the case and she couldn't prove that she was sexually assaulted. And I decided then I didn't want to be berated like that in front of the court. My family is also well known in the community and I didn't want it to be in the newspapers the most horrific thing that could happen to me. And I decided I did not want to pursue legal action. But rather what I did was I put my efforts into studying law. I knew from the start there was no doubt that I was going to study law. I used the event that happened and I put all of my effort into studying law. And I think that is what drives me. That is why I study law. Because I decided not to, quote unquote, get justice for myself, but I want to use my platform as a possible, whether it is associate, whether it is an advocate, wherever it is that I may end up, to help others seek justice. So that is why I study law.
Wow, that is a great story. Like, it's not great in terms of you didn't get justice for yourself, but it gave you the drive and the energy to actually see it through, because studying law, it's not an easy feat. I think you've now experienced that. So putting yourself in that situation, but you know what, it's a testimony, and I'm sure you are going to help so many women around the world or whatever they're going through with, and you will have that strength and that courage to see them through it. So Yeah, and I'm very proud of you for being able to speak about it so openly. In that regard of you saying you don't know which profession you're going to end up, like you just now finished studying towards your degree.
Yeah.
You have a keen interest in prosecuting,
Yeah.
correct? So am I correct?
Yes.
I remember.
100% right. So my interest is specifically when we look at fields of law, I would say criminal procedure and criminal law. So I would say criminal procedure specifically, once again tying into what I've just shared about the sexual abuse. So it was not that I didn't want to seek justice for myself, but rather that I felt that the process itself wasn't an environment for someone to feel safe. It wasn't an environment. The process wasn't for the victim. And while we know as people in the legal field that, of course, everybody has rights, the accused has rights. But if you are a woman that went through the most horrific thing, you want to feel safe to open up. And at that time in my life, I didn't feel that the legal system provided a safe space for me to speak about it. And that's why I'm so passionate about criminal procedure, because I know there's a lot of developments. You know, we have these in camera ways that you can deal with it now. So you don't have to see your or the accused or your abuser, but it's not enough. So my hope is, or that is my passion, to somehow have an impact on the criminal procedure, and that is why I'm so passionate specifically
About prosecution.
about prosecution.
I think you're going to do great in the criminal system. I think you're going to make a massive difference whether you go into the National Prosecution Authority or wherever it may be. But before you decide to do that, I don't know if you applied to become an aspirant prosecutor program or into that program. Are you interested in doing articles, or are you looking at doing articles?
So I am, once again, but I feel like I'm the cliche here. So I don't want to go into corporate. Obviously, I want to do articles because I want to be admitted. But I feel like that's the sole purpose of me doing articles.
Okay.
My goal isn't to be in corporate law. I applied to the aspirant program. I went through the first process, which was to write the test, and then you are shortlisted. So I think we will find out this month. Who you're going through.
Exciting! I am so excited.
So I applied.
Because that's obviously your passion. That's going to be the perfect role.
Yeah.
Should you get it?
But if I don't get it, somehow, and I'm speaking it out to the universe, I will end up in the public sector. So
I back that. I back that. I believe in it. Yeah, because I just for your personality. So if you want to be in the public sector where you can make change, like that can affect the whole entire South Africa, you do that. I'm a corporate girly. I am fine being a corporate girly. Yeah, but obviously I will also want to see and make changes where possible.
yeah,
So you said you are interested in doing articles for the purposes of becoming admitted.
Yes.
You need to finish your articles, which is 2 years to become admitted. You've heard the stories. So what do you expect to earn when you're a candidate attorney?
I feel like all candidate attorneys would probably laugh at me, but I would say at least 10,000. I know.
Okay.
I've heard the stories. I've heard the stories, but honestly, if I'm being honest, I don't really mind.
Okay.
I just want to be admitted.
So it depends obviously on which law firm you work at, whether it's a boutique size law firm, a medium size law firm, or your big five. Then your salary differentiates. Yeah. So, but there has been, the LPC has made a regulation. So in urban areas, the minimum salary now is 8,000 rand for
Okay.
candidate attorney. So at least that's a livable wage. It's
Not in Stellenbosch, but okay.
Yes, but we move. That is it. I won't speak about how much I earned as a candidate attorney, but maybe one day. And then you said, I want to know a bit about how your studying was. Like, how did it go? What was your experience while studying towards your LL.B? Like,
So is it, are you asking specifically with regards to the course,
so
or is it?
I'm not speaking yet about the subjects. I want to know how it was for you. Like, did you incur any problems during studying LL.B? Did you have doubts? Maybe I should go into a different field? Were you considering like dropping the legal degree and switching it up, because a lot of people do that? And were you supported during the 4 years, and who was that support system? How did you get through? How did you come out on the other side?
So there was never any doubt. And I think that ties into my personality. Just being someone that when I put my mind to something, I complete it. I finish what I start. And I knew, I think I was a little bit, I don't think I was ready for the reality of university, because I came to university as a candidate student, and I didn't have the mindset of failure. I didn't even have a failure in mind.
Yeah.
And so when I experienced failure, it was such a shock for me. I just couldn't deal with the fact that I'm actually failing. I'm failing at something academically because my academics was so intertwined with who I was. I think that the community at the university, and I don't think it's specifically the university I was at specifically, but I think the legal field is somewhere or a place that is very cold.
Cutthroat.
It's very, so I think that the first encounter I had with the university was they told us that only half of you guys would make it out.
Which is the reality. I've seen it happen.
Which is the reality, but I don't think someone that comes to university, you have stars in your eyes. That's the first thing you want to hear.
Yeah.
And I think that was the sort of my reality with the department and with the university, specifically, of course, my department. I didn't, so I am a disability student. That's what they see it. So I have extra time.
Okay.
So when you have extra time, you need to have a specific disability. Mine is learning related, of course. So basically what it is that I have a lot of thoughts because I study so much. So I have all of these thoughts in my head, and my brain just finds it very difficult to write all of that in a concise manner.
Yeah.
So I need extra
you need
time.
More time.
So I have the most time that you can have at the university. And there's certain things that you need support from the university. And in that regard, I just didn't feel supported. For example, you would need extra time, but there's no point in having extra time when the students who are done writing is speaking and having a party while you are writing.
Oh, yeah, you mean outside you can still hear them?
Inside the building even.
Oh, okay.
And speaking to people. And during COVID, I lost my dad. It is actually my stepdad, but
I'm so sorry about that. Yeah, you obviously take him as your father.
As my father.
He raised you.
Yes, and he was a lecturer at the university. He got COVID from a student at Stellenbosch University. And he passed away. And I spoke to the people in charge of student related issues. And I said, this is my issue. The funeral is this day. The next day I have to write. Can you make a concession, a provision for me? And I was literally told that there's worse things in life.
Oh, that's a bit
So
harsh.
I had all of these things, not just on record. I complained about it. I put in a complaint. And the disability department from the university even said that, she's not being supported in this regard. So not only as a student that has extra, concessions or has disabilities, was I not supported, but unfortunately, as a person of color, there is also not a lot of room for us. I know that the university strives to make a lot of room. They have made a lot of changes.
Yeah, diversity.
But we are just not there yet.
Yeah.
So I can't say you can't just say the department didn't support you. There was, of course, many lecturers that inspired me. Just for one, my constitutional law lecturer, Professor Liebenberg. She was fantastic, just a human, and I think that's what a lot of students wanted. Just some warmth.
And
just some compassion and understanding.
Okay.
So yes.
Yeah, look, we all have our lived experiences, and it's obviously like that is what you went through. It's your reality, and it can't be changed. You had a horrible experience in that regard, and then, like you said, you also lost your father during those years that you studied. So it wasn't an easy road, but you did get you did get through it. And I mean, I am so amazed and incredibly proud of you. That's why it's such an honor to actually have you on the show today, and to see that you're doing so great and that you came out the other end. You're going to be a graduate, like you're going to be a legal graduate. It feels so exciting for me to say it, so I wonder how it feels for you.
It sounds weird hearing it, especially because I got one of my results today. I'm waiting for one more.
Okay.
And then it's definitely, it's definite. I'm graduating in March. It's just weird hearing it, especially when you go through certain struggles and you just don't see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
As you spoke about the journey, so as you know, when you fail a module, specific modules, you get a year
I have
added.
to add a year.
So in my second year, I failed private law, and so there was a year added. And that completely destroyed me because in my mind, I was going to finish in record time, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And that
we
was
all
the
think
reality.
that. We all think that, and it's a lot. And the reality is that 80% of us who study the LL.B. or law degree doesn't finish in the 4-year time frame, and that's okay. Like, because of the way it's structured, and unfortunately, like you said, if you fail one specific module,
Yeah.
you have to repeat another year. The compulsory modules, obviously. So if it's not a compulsory module, like, you can continue to the next year, but the private laws, and yeah, that's quite hectic modules to go through. So that's
Exactly.
completely
Exactly.
understandable.
And I went through that twice. So I had 2 years added because I failed
Right.
one module and then I failed another module. So you would see on my transcript, I'm not friends with mercantile law, and that's why I can never be a
I
corporate
love
law.
mercantile
So
law.
if it starts with mercantile law, it will always say fail for the first.
No wonder I love mercantile law.
Yeah,
That
we,
was my
we are
baby.
opposites. So that was my journey, and I had to make peace with the fact that I was not going to graduate in the record time. Not once, but I had 2 years added. But now that I look back, it was perfect timing.
Yeah.
I'm graduating when I'm supposed to. And I just think for all of the other people, that's not graduating in a record time, it's okay. You will have your own timing. It is difficult seeing your friends walk across the stage, clapping, and you know that you put in the work, but it was just not, you felt like it was not enough this time.
Yeah.
But you will have your time. It took me 2 years, and it's only next year, in my 6th year, that I will finally walk across the stage after clapping for 2 extra years for all of my other friends. So just don't give up. Even if it takes 2 years, 3 years, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Celebrate your friends' victories, because your time will come. And like you said, it's gonna come. It's around the corner, and that is the time that we are going to celebrate you. Deservedly so. But while you're saying so, you've had all these years studying. How did it feel being a fiance while studying? Because a lot of people are scared to do it. I mean, if you know, you know. Like, that is the saying, right? If you know, you know, you want to marry this person. And I think you and Luke, you dated since high school.
High school, yeah. So they call it high school sweethearts.
Tell me the story, please, so that I can be enlightened again. I want to know this.
So we actually, when we met, I was not interested in him at all. So at that time, my type was the type that would break your heart, that would blue tick you. That was my type. So I was not interested in a sweet guy. And so we literally met by fate. That's all it is. I was friends with, or we had a mutual friend. We met the night and we just started talking. And we just didn't stop talking. We were friends for 6 months, and I tried to run away from it. But I couldn't deny that it was pure love.
Yeah.
And he said from the start that he was going to marry me. I was like, sure. Like when a man tells you he's 18 years old and he's saying he's going to marry you.
They're delusional.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, whatever you
Or
say.
they have another intention.
Yeah, he asked me to his matric ball, and while we're walking in, like, they're making an announcement, like, everybody says facts about themselves, and he says, like, when we're walking in, he's like, Danel's going to be my wife. And I got so embarrassed, like, I just wanted to crawl in a hole. Because I'm like, if this doesn't work out, like, I'm going to be a joke for the rest of And so he really lived up to that. I think it was in my 3rd year. He proposed to me. I mean, he was only 21 years old. I was 22. A lot of people thought we were crazy, or I was pregnant or something. But we just knew. And I think it's difficult being a corporate girly and being married because we are supposed to be independent and we're not
Yes.
supposed to rely on men. We have the feminist movement, so why are you married? And I think that was my reaction in my class when people found out I was married.
Wink,
They
wink. Well,
actually came up to me and said, "Why are you married?" I don't know. I'm in love.
yeah, if it works for you, it works for you.
I think that you can still be a corporate, or the way they call it, corporate baddie,
Yeah.
and be married if your partner allows you the space to
And
be yourself.
supports you.
He supports you and he allows you to be your own person. Not once did my husband ask me to choose between him and my studies. He knew that even though he's my husband, my studies is my first priority until I finish it. And it was the
Okay.
same for him. So he graduated, he's a teacher right now. And I'm going to graduate, and our specific fields is very important to us.
Yeah, you're still passionate about your own careers, and obviously because you both are very young still, so
Yeah.
you need to. Well, I also, the corporate ladder is something I also love, climbing the corporate ladder. I know some people don't like it, but I mean you have to have some form of career growth, and the fact that both of you guys can understand that and appreciate like the fact that you have your own careers, that is already a perfect marriage to me.
And you don't have to follow social norms. I think we are told, get your degree, then buy a house, then get married, have children. I mean, we did it the other way around. We didn't have any handouts.
Yeah.
We literally paid our wedding by saving from our bursaries. We did it by ourselves. We got our own place. Everything in our house is what we bought for ourselves.
Yeah.
So do it your way, as long as you have someone that's supportive.
Yes. So that, yeah, I'm very glad. And thank you to Luke as well. If you're watching this, Luke, you are a great husband. And
Definitely.
then with regards to studying, so now you have a fiance, you are going through the motions in like studying towards your law degree. Did you have any hobbies or like sports outside of it that was your way of relaxing? What was your way of relaxing while going through the trenches?
So to be honest, if sleeping was a hobby, that would be my hobby. But I don't think sleeping is a hobby, is classified as a hobby. But I would say, so I'm very artsy. My way is writing. I would write, I would journal a lot. I love drawing. And then I have like a cricket business on the side. So it's basically just making customized items. I wouldn't necessarily sell it, but it's just, I love making personalized gifts for people around me. So whenever I'm invited, I always have the most extravagant gift, but just because.
Because that's your personality.
So that was my personality. And I think it kind of ties in, as you mentioned, that I had the recruitment bursary. When I started studying, I got a recruitment bursary from both the drama department and the law faculty. So I had to make a choice. I had to make a choice in that moment. Because with the drama, you had to go through an entire, you had to audition. And there was hundreds of people there, and they only gave bursaries to 2 people. I was one of those people that got the bursary, and I was like, maybe this is what I'm supposed to do. Because I couldn't turn down the money. I mean,
that's like my bread and butter.
I mean, I can buy me a MacBook with this, but I decided that, I need to follow this voice within me, as I said. So just to bring us back to my passion. Once again, I chose law. So even though that's my hobbies once again include listening to podcasts, legal podcasts. In my downtime, it's still law.
Yeah, it's always law. That is to the core your passion, essentially. And then with regards to you made the whole decision between law and drama. When you decided to do law, is there anything that you wish you'd known before you actually continued the degree and finished the degree?
I probably would have studied drama. No, I'm joking. No, I'm joking. No, to be honest, I sort of regret studying LL.B. I think if I could do it over again, I would start with BA Law, and then I would do the LL.B as a postgrad.
Yeah.
I think when I started applying, in my mind, there was this hierarchy, and I saw LL.B as being more superior. So I thought that the smarter you are, you apply for LL.B, and then if you don't get in, you go for the PA. Obviously,
Yeah.
I'm wrong about that. And I decided to apply for LLB, and I was very, I was very pleased with
Yeah,
myself.
chuffed that you got in.
But the 2 degrees, obviously, you do the BA and then the
BA LLB is
so
the
it's 2
exact
degrees,
same.
but it adds up to the same thing.
Yes.
And it would have given me more grace. I would have had more of a social life.
But the BA LLB is just 1 year extra.
Yes. So it's more spaced out. The modules are more spaced out. The modules aren't exactly the same, but it's very, very similar. They, of course, have a little bit more of the BA module, so your languages, humanities.
Politics.
Yes, but I believe it would have given me more of a social life. I did not have a life. For the last 6 years, I've been in the house, and I just think, in general, I was not being human. I was just in front of my books, and I feel like studying BA and then doing the postgrad would have given me more space. I feel like this 4-year degree really made me cram in all of those things.
All of the knowledge.
It's not for everyone, but I believe my specific scenario where I got married would have been more
applicable to the BA LLB.
So if I could do it over, that's all I would do. I would start with the BA and do the postgrad.
Okay. Yeah, I personally would just continue with my LLB. I obviously did the LLB, and I think in 4 years, yeah, I wouldn't do the BA. But we all have our preferences, and like you said, to your circumstances, that would have been more applicable. And during the 4 years, you had to have had a favorite subject, and the subject that you just didn't want to look at. Mine was criminal law.
Oh no!
Me and criminal law, we don't sit around.
Shame on you.
The same like fire. I can't even look like criminal law. I almost failed it. I didn't. But I almost did. So that is a no for me. All the other subjects is fine. What is yours?
I'm gonna sound like such a nerd, but I love almost all of the modules. Every single one I found so interesting. Even interpretation law, I love the law. But like I said, anything that starts with mercantile law, we are in a fight. I had to fight, claws, nails, everything just to pass the module. So anything that starts with mercantile law, I can't do it. Insolvency, company law, it's just not for me.
For you.
Yeah. So of course, as I mentioned, criminal procedure, criminal law, I love those modules.
And you're passionate about it. So it was probably easy for you to sit down and study all that content, but there's a lot of cases in criminal law, eh?
Yes, but the module that really surprised me, I didn't think that would be a favorite, is advanced constitutional law.
Interesting.
So our lecturer, Professor Liebenberg, she had different guests come in. So it was authors of different constitutional law books, and we would just have these discussions, and it literally opened up my world to how broad constitutional law is. It is literally intermingled with everything, every field in law. So
yeah, that constitutional law and public law also ties hand in hand. I remember. Yeah, I remember. I remember that, but it's just constitutional law is also a bit boring. But we didn't have we didn't have the guest lecturers that you guys had. We just had constitutional law.
Did you take advanced constitutional law?
I don't know. I can't remember. I have to check. Probably not. The advanced stuff I took was like mercantile law.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Advanced constitutional law.
I think I just took the regular constitutional law, and even then I still was like not interested. Not interested in it at all.
Yeah, we on complete different sides of the spectrum.
And that's the thing. But that's the great thing about the legal field. If anybody wants to go study law, there's so many different aspects that they can go into. So you might tell somebody from high school, yes, you can go study law, and they don't know what they want to do with it. But there's you can go into corporate law, you can go into criminal law, you can go into civil law. You can literally do anything your heart desires, and you don't have to know what you want to do.
Exactly.
At the time. So let's talk about me. So I also still am figuring out which area of law I want to be in. I know my strong suits, but I'm still deciding do I want to be in the legal field, in this specific part? Is it now insurance? Is it corporate? Is it criminal law? Well, never criminal law, but yeah. And then, going back to you now, how did it feel writing the exam? So you said obviously there's 2 modules that kept you back for 2 years, that added 2 years to your degree. how was the exam process for you? Like writing your exams, studying towards your exams. Like, what was the drill for you? Like, when did you start studying for an
So to be
exam?
honest, like I've mentioned a lot of times, I'm quite a nerd. I'm very, very pragmatic. I'm very organized. So before the exam started, whether it's 2 months ahead, I would have a schedule ready. I would have, this is the amount of times I'm going to study for a specific module. I would set out the specific topics, how long it would take me, typically the amount of pages, color coded. I would have, like, I'm very, very pragmatic about it. I was very organized. Studying was never the issue. My issue with the exams, so for those that aren't aware, but with Stellenbosch, typically in our department, you would have 3 tests in the year. So that would count 40%.
Your standardized tests.
Yes, so you would have 3 tests. That counts 40%, and then you would have an exam that counts 60%. So even if you did well the entire year, if you mess up in the exam, most likely you're going to fail. Even though your predicate is extremely high, it can be a saving grace, but if
The
you...
predicate is just the average.
It's the
that you
average,
have going
yeah.
into the exam.
So if you, for example, you get a 30%, even though your average is like in the 70s, you can still fail.
Yeah.
So I feel like that...
The
sort of-
weighting of it.
I
you
think
don't
it's
agree
a
with.
bit disproportionate, because if you are going through something during the time period, which I did, my dad passed away during that time, it messes up the entire plan, because my predicate was very, very good.
Yeah.
But I failed because I was not in the right state of mind. So that would be my approach typically, that I would study way ahead of time. But my issue specifically was not the content. I know that a lot of people struggle to understand the content, but mine wasn't the content. And I spoke to a lot of my lecturers. A lot of the times when I failed, it was because of time constraints.
Yeah.
So never ever in my history have I ever finished a paper. The most I finished was 75% of my paper
Even like with the extra time.
with the extra time.
Oh, hectic.
And sometimes I would only finish 50%, but I would get 50%, which means I actually got 100%.
Yeah.
But mentally, it has a toll on you, because all you see is 50%. So a lot of times my lecturers would say, just stop studying so much, just try and write something in everything. So for me personally, I don't think it's applicable to everyone. I didn't really struggle with the content for any of my modules specifically, except company law.
Except company law. But complicated.
It was more the time constraints for me. So preparing was not the issue. Studying was never issue for me.
It's just the time,
It
essentially.
was just
You
the time
needed more
constraints.
time to...
And I think I just have to say that for those that aren't aware, with law modules, you would typically have long questions. So for company law specifically, you would have, or criminal law I wrote now, there were 6 long questions for 75 marks, and it would be 2 hours. So if you can think for yourself, they expect you to write a long question of 2 to 3 pages. You have 6 questions. For most people, they would go, okay, that's easy.
Yeah.
But you're not just writing down facts. You have to
You have
construct.
the IRAC, you have the issue, the rule, the analysis,
Exactly.
the conclusion.
They don't want you to just give them information.
Yeah.
So my issue was, and that's what my lecturer said, you know too much.
Yeah. There's too much information.
There's too
that
much
is in your
information,
brain.
and that's what broke me as a student, because I studied too hard. That was my
Yeah.
issue. So, yeah, I think.
Yeah,
when-
I know you can have information, hey, but you need to also now to apply it. So I think, I don't know which year I got taught the IRAC, but there's an
first
issue.
year.
Is it first year?
It's first year, yeah.
So there's an issue, and you look at the issue. You read the whole content, the whole long story of 3 pages, but you need to identify the issue, which will probably be 1 sentence out of those 3 pages. And then you do the rule, so you see which law is applicable to that. And you put that down, and then it's an analysis of all the facts, and then it's your conclusion. So that's how I always went through it. And obviously, I've never had extra time, but I've also never not finished a paper, except probably company law. The company law
Yeah.
is complex. But other than that, that's always how I went through the motions of making sure that I'm timeous with the thing. So I never said too much. Like, as long as I know I covered those 4 points, then the lecturer is already going to give me marks for that. Like I'm going to have marks to know that I did an analysis and I got a conclusion. But yeah, like we all have different personalities, and I think we should also like see what works for us. Like,
Yeah, I think for those who struggle with time, like my lecturer gave me quite a good nugget. He said that if you really understand your work well, you will be able to just take out the most important information. So for me, I always came to him and I was like, I really studied very hard, and he's like, but if you really understood what you're supposed to do, you would be able to write it concise. So if you really understand your work well and you didn't just memorize your work, you will be able to write it in a lesser amount of time. Which isn't, I mean, in general, not for people that, of course, have
time
disabilities
constraints. Yeah.
like me, but I mean, in general, if you have time issues.
That is the way to go. Yeah, and then like you said, the time constraints now and your favorite and your worst subjects. With regards to you didn't do your articles yet, so you're still going to experience that.
Yeah.
But for somebody in high school, like that wants to study law, what advice would you give them, or like what would you tell them to think about before they actually pursue the LL.B degree?
I think
Or the BA law degree, or BCom,
Yeah.
BAc LL.B.
I think it has to do, I think we were taught in school, if you're really smart, study law, engineering, or
Doctor, become a doctor.
become a doctor. I really don't think studying law has to do with your intelligence per se.
Yeah,
Because you are surrounded by people in first year who, they are the best of the best from their school. You are not surrounded by average students. You are surrounded by people who was first in the class. So the people that are failing around you, they aren't stupid. It's
Yeah.
not people that struggle with content. It's people that struggle with either determination or, finishing what they have started.
yeah,
So I think that if you want to apply for law, you should know firstly your own personality. Are you someone that can work or able to work when others are going out? You have the constraint to say no, especially if you like in the hostel, you see your friends going out. Because law, for the most part, studying law is saying no.
I partied a lot. I mean,
So I was the opposite, and it's not healthy. It's not healthy. Like there was no social life for me.
yeah, because I mean, I never failed a module in my 4 years.
Exactly.
I studied LL.B, the 4-year degree, and I never failed a module. I did it in record time. But I also had a balance, and I think that's what you didn't have.
Yes.
So I had
Exactly.
a balance in the sense of I was also on a sports bursary, so I had to play soccer.
Yeah.
So I had to wake up for the gym, and I had to go train, and that was actually my stress reliever.
Exactly.
So like you said, you slept. You
Yeah.
basically like slept, but then when you woke up, it was probably that stress and that anxiety
Exactly.
was still there.
And it leads to burnout. So there's two sides of the spectrum. You either just party or you just study, and none of it is healthy.
Yeah. But you
I
have to
think
come
they
to, like,
praise.
in the
I think they
between.
praise my side more because you're studying all the time, but it's unhealthy. You burn yourself out.
Exactly.
Like you can't eat or you overeat. It's unhealthy. So I was on that side of the spectrum where all I did was study, and it was just really, really unhealthy. So
But that's why you say like somebody in high school needs to have that determination and that grit and the constraint to say, I'm writing in a week, so you guys go to Klein Vrydag. I'm gonna sit with my books.
And I mean, knowing you as well, even if you went out, you would go home and study further. Not a lot of people have the discipline. So not only determination, discipline. Do you have discipline?
Exactly.
I really think that law is a lot about morals. Of course, we learn a lot about morals. You guys will see when you're studying, there will always be your answer somewhere.
You write the ethics paper.
Yeah, and Jesus and Makwenani is going to come in somewhere.
It comes in everywhere. That comes in everywhere.
So discipline, compassion, and I think that's what a lot of my colleagues, I would say, lack. They are smart enough to study, but you don't have the compassion to work with people. At the end of the day, they don't just require smart people. They require someone with compassion, because the people that's coming to you, they have issues in their life.
Yeah.
No one's coming because, they are in a happy mood to see a lawyer,
Yeah.
generally.
They're coming with a problem.
They're
for
coming
you
with
to
a problem
solve.
for you to solve, so they need compassion. So discipline, compassion, and I think being surrounded with support. I think that's the most important part. People that can carry you over the line. and a community of people. I am an extrovert, but I don't share my personal information with people. And I'm very, like I said, I'm extroverted. I will speak to everyone, but no one would know what's going on in my life.
Yeah.
And I think that it's very important to create a community, and I realized that too late. So my first few years, I did it by myself. And when I started making friends, I'm like, wait, you guys share notes. And this is really helpful. We can actually study together. And like my life changed.
Yes.
My life changed, like you don't have to do it on your own.
I think because I have the extrovert personality, I got my community and my support group like in the beginning, like from day one. Like I think I can't remember. It was probably my first year. But I think it's because I also played soccer and these law kids came to watch me play soccer and they're like, no, we study with you. I'm like, yeah, I do study law. And like they study law also. And we just like connected
Exactly.
and that's where the community started. And I am a firm believer of that because it's actually quite sad because I know two of my very close friends, like because of the fact that they didn't have that support and that community, like they became very isolated. And my one friend, he actually had to move back to the Northern Cape because he couldn't finish his degree because depression is a real thing. When mental issues is a real thing when you're studying towards your LL.B or any degree for that matter of fact. So as a male also, it was frowned upon for him to like feel
Yes.
certain type of emotions. And yeah, it was very, like my heart broke when he told me he's not coming back the next year.
And that's a sad reality. I mean, I don't know if you're aware of this, but the law faculty has the highest rate of suicide
Yes,
of all
I
of the
am aware.
departments. And it is actually something that is joked about in our groups. Everyone's saying that they are depressed, but it's not funny. It is just
It's a mental health issue.
it's a mental health issue, and not once again because they're not smart enough. It's because everybody's coming to this realization, that before my identity, and this is me specifically, was in my academics. I was known to be the smart one without trying.
Yeah.
And now I'm failing. So who am I now? So
Yeah,
I think
you
a lot
lose
of
a sense of yourself.
you lose a sense of yourself. And for me specifically, I needed this degree to humble me, as I said. I am very extrovert, and I always was. I was very outspoken. I would speak to everyone, but I didn't have the humbleness to reach out to someone and say, I am struggling. Can you help me? How did you do that? So I think this is where community comes in, and having that sense of humbleness. So just tying back to the question that you asked. So if you are going to apply, come in with a humble attitude. Although
Not
you
I'm the
are,
best.
although you are first
probably
in your
are
school,
the best, but
although you are first in your school, trust me, there's a module that you're not going to understand, and you're going to need someone along the way.
yeah, that's the truth. I need it. Also, me being so I can do everything on my own. I can understand everything. There's a lot of times I had to go to my friends and be like, I don't understand the concept of this. Like, just take some time out of your day and explain it to me. So that is the truth. And then I want to know about your grit and your passion. You said you also found out that you needed like a community or support group like a bit later on. But for all the years that you survived and you got through it, where did your passion come from? Where did your energy come from? Where did the grit come from? Like, where did the thing come from? I can wake up every day and I'm going to finish this degree.
It's just God. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
It's just God.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people, when I speak about God, they're like, but how? God and law doesn't come together. But there's a big community of people that is not only spiritual, but they are also in the legal field. For me, that drive was, God gave me this purpose and I have to fulfill it.
That's your calling.
I don't believe that the sexual abuse that I went through was what God bestowed on me. But I do believe that it's something that I can use for the good.
Yeah.
I don't want to look back on my life and be like, I never want to be a victim. I don't regard myself as a victim, and that's why I will never refer to myself as a victim. So for me, I woke up every day and said, God woke me up today. I'm breathing. So there has to be purpose for me. And throughout all of the years, I think you can imagine, or you've experienced yourself, times where you just really feel like you can't do it anymore.
Yeah, you just like, I don't feel like studying to
I can't get out of bed. And we've all went through that. You just can't go to class.
Yeah.
Like a week has gone by and you're just rotting in bed. But that was the one thing that got me out of bed, knowing my purpose that God has given me. And that is what drives you at the end of the day. And of course, my husband. Just mentioning that again because I forgot my ring. My husband and my family. And I, of course, know that not everybody's privileged to have family around them. A lot of people come from far away.
Yeah.
But creating your own family around you, speaking to the social services that we have available on campus as well. A lot of people are shy to reach out, but a lot of my friends have reached out to the social services that they have available on campus.
And they've been assisted.
And they've been assisted,
that's cool.
whether it is medication, whether it is writing a letter to the faculty saying, she can't write this test because she's going through the most. At the moment, I had a friend that was also sexually assaulted. She didn't have family around, and the social, services assisted her. So I think the most important thing here is knowing when to say, help, I need help. And that's something I had to learn, knowing how to say, can you please help me? I am drowning.
Yeah. No, but I think besides the fact that you were drowning, you didn't die.
No.
You made it out.
One finger.
Yes, I am extremely proud of you. And thank you for sharing your story and your journey. I mean, it is such an honor and a blessing to be able to listen to it. And I think I learned a lot from you. I think the viewers as well have learned a lot from you. So thank you so much for being on our show. And yeah, hopefully we get to do this again soon sometime.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.